is NickiiJean, and I am here today with the extraordinary Kadyr, actor, casting director, the epitome of the industry, it seems like.
I think I need to put you in my pocket and have you introduce me to
I don't know if you can afford me though. So,
Sure.
But okay, I've been like butchering your last name, so I would love for you to just say the full name.
Gutierrez.
Gutierrez.
So full name would be Kadyr Gutierrez. Or
Kadyr.
Gutierrez if you're from here.
Yeah, because that's what I wanted to say. Okay.
That's okay.
Okay.
I get both.
Yes, I'm sure. And then I can only imagine like on paper what it really looks like.
When I go to Starbucks, I'm Sean.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm Sarah. So
Okay. It's easy.
yeah. Okay. So let's talk. Let's talk about your whole experience. Let's start with where are you from?
Originally from Ukraine. Yes.
Okay.
From Kiev.
Okay.
Which is not going through a easy time right now.
But
that's where I was born.
And how long did you live there?
I lived there as a kid, childhood. Then I went to South America.
Okay.
Then I landed in Texas.
Okay.
And then Texas was my long-term upbringing.
Okay. How old were you when you got to Texas?
I was 17.
17. So you
teenager.
explored. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you stayed in Texas for how long?
I stayed in Texas for 8 years ish. Before that, I had never been anywhere for that long. I'd always moved around because of my dad.
Okay.
His job.
Not my I was going to say like military or?
No, oil.
Okay. Okay.
So we moved a lot and then landed in Texas, oil land.
Right.
And then we stuck there for a minute. Mm-hmm. So I went to high school, college there, and then made my way to LA.
Okay. So what brought you to LA? I mean, we know, but like, let's talk about it.
It's funny you ask. It was music originally.
Okay. Yeah, so you sing.
Did.
Are you going to sing right now for us?
Tense. We put that in the back burner many, many years ago.
Okay.
For a reason.
Okay.
Which we won't get into today.
All right.
But it was originally music. However, my long-term goal was always to go into like the movies, television side of things, which I did after about 2 years.
Okay.
And so it's been like that ever since.
So, you came doing music. Like, what exactly did you do?
I was in a band. I did sing. Yeah. We're going to leave it at that.
Were you the lead or like?
We're going to leave it at that. It was 3 of us.
Okay.
So all 3 of us took some vocals.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
So can we know the name of that band? No?
Absolutely not.
Because I was going to Google you for sure. Okay, so, but what type of music?
It was pop.
Pop?
Yeah, it was pop.
And then you transitioned into casting. Like talk me through the transition.
The funny thing about it, so we got signed with the band in Texas.
Cool.
But management was here.
Okay.
So eventually they were like, y'all need to move. So we did. And we worked for a while and it wasn't bad. It was good. It was okay. But it was that moment where the grind was happening and you can only grind, or I can only grind for so long. Mm-hmm. So eventually I was like, I'm stretched too thin.
Right.
And my goal was acting anyway.
Okay.
So I was like, I think I need to take a step back.
Okay.
And then I went to acting school.
Okay. So you took a step back. You went to acting school in California.
Here. Yeah.
What school, if you don't mind?
I rotated through several schools, but my main was the acting corp, which was here, actually not too far from here.
Okay.
So I went there for 4 years, but at the same time I was taking like individual classes with teachers that were on television in shows that I wanted to be on.
Okay.
So I made sure to seek them out, make sure they were teaching somewhere, and then I would go and take class there.
Okay. And so what was like the experience in the acting schools? Like,
it was great.
Yeah?
It was incredible because I was so green. I was super new. I did theater as a child.
Okay.
My mom used to be a dancer.
Okay.
So I would go with her, witness rehearsals and all that.
So that's where it started.
That's where it all started. Yeah,
okay.
Watching her. Mm-hmm. And then I did theater in South America. I did theater in high school in Texas.
Okay.
And a little bit in college. So when I got here, I thought I knew what was going on. Nah.
And then
so acting school was a reteaching of how things actually work.
Right.
How Hollywood works.
Right.
Because
that's the thing.
What to do and what not to do. So it took a minute to get settled. But taking one of those classes with a casting director is how I got into casting.
Because we're going to talk about that.
Okay.
I want to stick to just the acting for a bit more. Sure. Tell me about like your first job.
So I will tell you about my very first job was I went to an audition and I booked it and it worked wonderfully. Okay. But I like to tell this story that I'm about to share with you because it happens and people don't think it happens.
Okay.
I was dropping off headshots at Fox Studios a gazillion years ago. And I was, making the rounds. I don't know if they still allow you to do that, but they did at the time. And they were shooting King of Queens, the show, the comedy with Kim James. And so I went there, and that day they happened to be shooting a scene that was supposed to be at a movie theater. So they had their studio turned into a movie theater, so they needed an audience, and they allowed me to sit there and kind of be an extra. So I was watching, and it was a scene between the two of them, a girl, and her boyfriend, who was an actor they had cast in the role. So he kept stumbling and butchering lines and just not being able to do it. And out of nowhere, this is true, the director just leans into the AD, whispers something, they cut, then the AD just runs up the steps, and he's like, "Are you an actor?" And I was like, "Yes." He's like, "Can you read these lines?" So I read the lines, and he was like, "Go to wardrobe." So I went to wardrobe, they gave me clothes, I rehearsed the lines, and then the next thing I know, I'm sitting next to Leah Remini, doing the scene. That was I was like, oh.
That's amazing. Okay. Something out of a movie. Okay.
Pretty much. And that was how I became SAG. They gave me a Taft Hartley. I saved the paper that they gave me because on the paper it says he had the look. And I was like, that never happens. It happens.
It happens, right? Okay. So that definitely gives our, viewers motivation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, I wasn't planning on it. I was just kind of doing my due diligence, dropping off stuff for people to get to know me, and boom.
So and then after that, I'm sure that pushed you to.
I mean, continue. When that happens, I came home and I told my roommate, I was like, "You're not going to believe what happened." And I told him the story, and I was so motivated to just keep at it. Yeah.
You just need a little piece to kind of push you. So then once you got that position or role, what was next after that?
So I was in school. I just kept going to class. Excuse me. I just kept going to class. I started taking some casting director workshops. I knew that to get my feet wet, I did a little bit of extra work for about 2 to 3 months. I didn't love it, so I stopped. So I shifted to commercial casting workshops. Okay. And doing those, I met a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful casting director. I don't know if you guys want me to say his name. He's great.
Chris Game.
Chris Game. I started with him. He used to cast all of the Wendy's spots.
Okay.
And he had a thing. I will always remember him because the first day of class, he memorized every single person's name. So at the beginning of class, he was like, "What's your name? What's your name? What's your name? What's your name?" And then at the end, he was like, "Okay, boom, 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 boom." And he did not miss, and he didn't miss my name. Everybody misses my name.
I mean, clearly I just struggled earlier, so.
And I was like, oh, okay. Like, this is a whole different level.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You guys got to be on point. I'm going to show you how to do that for commercial auditions. When you get out of here, you're going to be a lot more efficient."
That's amazing.
So I took that class.
Right.
And towards the end, he was like, "You're bilingual, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Do you know how to work a camera?" I was like, "Yeah." And then he brought me to his studio just to listen to, he was auditioning bilingual talent. He doesn't speak Spanish.
Right.
Or not fluently. So I was the ears.
Okay.
And that's how I got my
okay, because that's what I wanted to know. Like, what from just acting to casting, like that's a huge jump. So just being at the right place at the right time, it seems like.
For me, yes. I wanted to build those relationships. Because it's about who you know. It's about who you know and networking. So doing the casting, I'm not a big fan of the pay for play. Okay. Like I don't think you should pay to get an agent. I don't think you should pay to get an audition, none of that stuff. Yeah. But a casting director workshop, when you're new, gives you the tools, or at least most of them give you the tools to be able to do the thing on your own. And you're building the relationship with the teacher, who just happens to be a casting director.
Right.
So, and I think I booked with him acting-wise. But I don't think I booked a lot. So he was the door for me to, he worked at a studio where other casting directors worked at the time. And they were like, "Oh, you know how to do this. You speak Spanish." And anytime they had anything bilingual, they would call me. And then it just kind of expanded from there. So I got to meet them all. Then they started to bring me in as an actor. And then I would do my thing as an actor.
Listen, I'm just loving this. Yeah, honestly, being at the right place at the right time. I wanted to just go back to bilingual. So meaning you speak, obviously, Spanish, but just Spanish and English.
So my first language was Russian.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Okay.
But when I learned Spanish, my parents, my parents, stopped talking Russian to me so that they could talk to each other in Russian, and me and my brother wouldn't understand.
Wow, now that's good parenting, right?
It's good parenting. But now I wish they had. So I understand it some, but I don't speak it fluently because we learned and spoke Spanish at home.
Okay.
So my Spanish is native.
Okay. Okay, so a few questions.
Excuse me.
When's the last time you actually had an acting role? Just quick.
About a month ago.
Oh, so you're fresh.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
About a month
So,
ago.
with that being said, I think that we're just going to have a little fun really quick.
Uh-oh.
I want to see if I would book. You just taught me how to be like a casting director, kind of.
Okay.
So, we just want to know if I would book you. So,
if you would book me, not if I would book. Okay.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
I'm not an actor, actress.
Okay.
But there's a twist to it. So I'm going to give you a scenario, and I want you to come up with just a few lines based on that scenario in English and in Spanish.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
We'll
Are
try.
you ready? I think you can do this. You just were booked like a month ago. So.
Hey.
So she is 45 years old, your character. It's
My
a woman.
character.
Yeah. Listen, you should be able to do anything, right?
Hey.
She's 45. She's a woman who knows that she's going to be a superstar. And she is coming in for a casting for a big movie that she just knows that she's going to get the role because she's a huge fan.
She's a fan of who?
We can come up with that together. Who's good right now? Who's popping?
I mean, you're giving me.
I know.
For some reason, you're giving.
Let's do Selena. Let's do Selena. I know we're just all over the place, right?
You were giving me Samantha vibes from Sex and the City. For some reason, I don't know why.
No, we'll stick with Selena.
Sure.
Yeah, but she's a fan of Selena.
Okay.
Okay. 45 years old. She knows that she's going to be an actress. This is her big break. She's driven hours to come to this casting, and the scene is basically what could be the scene. The scene is coming home and telling my parents, I'm quitting school to become a singer. English and Spanish.
Let me get this correct. So she's 45.
45.
And she's coming home to tell her parents that she's quitting school at 45?
Quitting school at 45. We're going to go with all the scenarios. Right?
Okay. And she's telling the parents that she's quitting school because she wants to be
an actress,
right?
Because she wants to be an actress. What's the movie where the parents, is it Step Brothers? So it's like that type of scenario. Okay? That mindset. Okay.
Huh. Let's see. Okay.
Her name is Kadyr. Okay. Kadyr.
Mom?
Yes.
So I've got something to tell you.
Okay.
Look, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it because I don't know how else to do it. I know that you've always instilled in me and my sister to be academically inclined and finish school, and we're gonna get a job. And I understand that was your path, and that's how you did it. And I know that it works. But I just had this amazing opportunity that I feel like if I don't take it, it might just slip through my fingers, and I don't want to let that happen. And you've also taught me to pursue my dreams, and I think this is it.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna do it, and I just want your blessing. I think I'm gonna stop what I'm doing at school, and I'm gonna go to California and try out. They loved me. They already saw my tape. They saw my tape. They want to see me again. I don't want to miss it.
At 45.
Yes. This is one of the few careers where you can have your big break at 45 years old, and I understand that it's taken some time, but I think it's gonna happen. And I think it's gonna happen now, and I just want your blessing and your support.
Now in Spanish.
Oh, Lord. You gonna respond in Spanish to me? Okay.
Pequito.
Let's see. Mamá.
Sí.
Necesito hablar contigo. No te vayas a molestar. Se me está presentando una oportunidad increíble en California. Yo sé que no he terminado la escuela. Yo sé, no te enojes. Por favor, escúchame. Yo sé que no he terminado. Yo sé que la mayoría de las personas dirían que ya pasó mi tiempo y mi época. Pero quiero intentar. Quiero intentar una vez más. Y si no funciona, prometo que me devuelvo y termino la escuela. Pero yo creo que esta vez sí va a funcionar. Y necesito que me apoyes.
And sing. I thought that I could come up with something in Spanish.
I thought you were gonna. I was waiting.
I was like, how do I say 46 in Spanish? Didn't work out. That was amazing.
Thank you.
That was amazing.
Thank you.
The reason why we even played that game is because I wanted to just like talk about like casting? Like that is, you've done that 10 years, basically. How do you find, what are you looking for when you are in these auditions? Or is it like this? Someone comes in, there's a scene, we give a scenario, and then...
So usually 99.9% of the time, you will know what you're auditioning for before. Like this was just cold, read, do this. That usually doesn't happen. That's like, hey, I sing. Okay, sing something. Like that doesn't, that doesn't happen. Or like, hey, host, now, go. Usually you'll get the material before, like at least the day before.
Okay.
So you'll have some time to prep. Your agent hopefully submitting you for stuff that you are right for and that you do fit. So you're not getting like, like a 45-year-old white woman, right?
Right.
You're getting you or something that you will fit.
Right.
So you'll have that. If there's any lines, you'll memorize them the night before. Then you'll show up to the studio or nowadays virtually to your casting. And ideally, you run into me before you do the audition and I tell you what the scene is supposed to be like.
Okay.
So I'll give you the parameters for you to take what you prepped, make it fit into what they want, and then do it. Okay. So you'll do it a couple of times. I'll give you some notes if needed. We'll do it again. Once we get it into the sweet spot, then you're done, and I'll send it to the clients.
Okay. You mentioned virtual. So is that something just because of COVID, or has this always...
So COVID enhanced it.
Okay.
COVID made it, it was available before, but nobody did it.
Right.
Now it's kind of the norm. It depends on what you're doing. Commercials are a lot faster turnaround than theatrical, like TV and movies. So sometimes the audition will be virtual and the callback will be in person, just so more than one person can be seen together.
Okay, and there's always going to be a callback, right?
Most of the time. Sometimes they're like, we don't need a callback. Like, she was great. We'll get her off the tape. That doesn't happen often.
Okay.
There's usually a callback.
Right. Yeah. There's just so many people to filter through. So which one would you prefer? Virtual castings or in person?
I feel like 50% of the people watching are going to hate this and 50% of people are going to love it. I personally, so my thing is commercials.
Okay.
And like I said, they're way faster turnaround than theatrical. So with theatrical, you audition less people and you spend more time. With commercials, you audition more people in a shorter amount of time.
Okay.
So for me, virtual works.
Okay.
Because number one, you don't have to drive all over LA. You don't have to park. You don't have to go to the studio. You don't have to wait there for an hour.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. You can just be at home, log on at your time, have your setup ready, kind of like this. Do your audition, hang up, and you're done.
Okay.
If we want to see you in person for the callback, then we'll make the callback in person, but that's a lot less people.
Okay.
So it's more manageable because we're only going to see 4 or 5 people per role, right? So that's doable. The first casting, we filtered through hundreds, if not thousands of people to then narrow it down to 30 to 50 per role so that I can put you on tape and then we can send you to the client and then they filter it. Then you get to a callback. So virtual to me, and what I need to see is what you look like on camera and whether or not you can follow direction.
Right.
So I don't need to see you in person for that. I can see what you look like on the screen. I can see if you can take direction. That's it. I don't need to see you in person.
Okay.
But a lot of people like in person a lot more because you can get the feedback like this.
I'm all about the energy.
Absolutely. And I get that too. That's completely valid. I'm saying for efficiency purposes, I feel like virtual is better. But I totally get I want to hear the casting director. I want to work with my scene partner. I get that. So both for commercials, virtual.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what would be, not the craziest, but like, I would just love to hear like a really interesting casting story.
Oh my God, there are so many. There are so many. Excuse me. I'll give you a kind of funny yet sad story. So I was casting this Christmas spot a few years ago. So there are people who only read audition and work as Santa for Christmas. So imagine Santa, that's what these guys look like. Okay. They're big belly, white beard, blah, blah, blah. And they on top of that have the attire. So this was before COVID, so in-person auditions were happening. Our studio was about this big. And you have 5 to 7 Santas sitting on a bench together waiting for their turn. The studio next to mine was auditioning 5-year-olds.
Oh, man.
So when you audition 5-year-olds, they usually come in with the parents, of course. So I had my Santas here, and every time a kid would walk through the door, this was their face.
Oh no, you've just ruined their whole Christmas experience.
Absolutely. It wasn't on purpose. Like, it was two separate castings going on.
Why are there six of them?
Some kids were like, Mom. Some of them started crying.
Oh, no.
Some of them were like, why is there more than one Santa?
They're in their outfits, right?
And of course, yeah. There's literally 7 Santas waiting, and they're all just like, whoops. Like, some of the moms were really clever, and they were like, honey, it's Christmas time, so Santa needs some help. So he, recruits people that look like him, and they all help, but it's only during Christmas, like that stuff. But some of the kids were like really shocked. And I was like, yeah, we're destroying dreams.
Literally. It's like telling the kid that there's no Santa.
There's much more fun ones, but that one sticks in my head because I was like, oh, wow.
I mean, I want to know about the actual casting. Like, so Santa just sat down and said, ho, 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 and then you just knew, like, how did you pick Santa? Like,
well, no, Santa, it depends. This particular one was for a car spot. Okay. So he had to do some stuff with the cars, like the car, the bow ties on the cars and kind of giving it to the couple that was buying it. And it depends. It really, sometimes he's just sitting there with like somebody on his lap and ho, ho, ho. But a lot of the times they actually have to act.
Okay.
So, there's guys, again, they don't shave, they don't lose weight, they look exactly like Santa all year round.
I'm trying to be Santa. That's one goal. Like,
and it's not a lot. It's not a lot of them. There's a handful of them that work every Christmas, and every Santa you see on television is probably out of that group.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now that we've talked about like the most memorable fun, what about like, okay, I feel like, just like your story about how you just happened to be at the right place at the right time, and then your life changed for the rest of your career. Do you feel like that is a moment that you've played in other people's lives, and have you like been able to actually see it?
So there's 2 things that I will always remember. I will always remember. One, I've had several actors that will come back after seeing me and be like, you were the first person that I booked my first job with. Oh. It was because of you. That will always stay.
Yeah.
And they're like, the way you directed me and the way you told me to do this and that completely worked. I use it for my other auditions and I work. So something is working. And the second thing is seeing a kid, which has happened, and I'm like, that kid's gonna be great. And then you fast forward 5 years and they're incredible. Oh. So having sort of like the eye to see before it happens, it's pretty cool.
Can we talk about that? Like, who is, who could we label, or not label, but tell us, spill the beans. Who did you cast and you're like, wow, that kid's going to be a star, or that person's going to be a star, and then here we are 5 years later and they're a star?
Okay. I shouldn't do this.
Yes, you should. The people want to know.
For example, we'll do one boy and one girl.
Yes.
There is the little boy. Do you guys remember the Gabriel Iglesias show on Netflix, the comedy that was on Netflix? He was also in World War Z with Brad Pitt, the boy.
We're going to pull that up. Someone Google that.
We can. He is an incredible actor. I met him when he was yay high. We were part of the same project, and he was playing the younger version of me.
Oh.
Yeah, and he's incredible. And his mom is also an actress. Okay. And I was like, he's doing it. He's doing it now. Now he's awesome. Oh my God, I don't know how old he's now. He's got to be close to 20.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this was at the very beginning. So this is a long time ago.
Okay.
And he's incredible.
That's awesome.
And then on the girls' side of things, you guys know who Becky G is?
Guys, we have to Google these things.
You probably know who she is. She came into the studio with her mom before she was Becky G. And the mom was like, she's going to be a star. She's a great singer. And that to me was very bold because that doesn't happen.
Right.
Like, you don't go and crash a studio and be like, she's going to be a star. Listen to her. Do you have anything? That day we were casting for something completely different. And she's like, you need to listen to her. So I didn't, she was a little girl. And I was like, sure. And she sang and she was a good singer. And I was like, absolutely. Whenever we have something, we'll bring her in. And we brought her in once and then she turned into Becky G.
Wow.
So
amazing.
Little things like that is like, you see it.
You're a part of it.
It's nice, a very small part, but yeah. The owner of the studio where this story happened auditioned DiCaprio before he was DiCaprio, and she's like, look, when I saw him, I was like, this kid is gonna be a superstar.
Yeah,
and boom,
and
like you can see it.
Yep,
you can see it.
It's, like you can just like me, I'm just kidding. No, but you can see it. You can just see it in the person. So,
yeah, totally.
And that's like just a blessing to have like that. Skill, because I literally would not no, you know.
And in casting, like we are rooting for you. We want you to come in and just knock it out of the park. When we have 2 of those, then the rest of the day is very easy because we got it.
Yeah, we already know.
So a lot of people can come in and not be great, or maybe you work with some more than others or not, but you have 2 in the back pocket that just killed it. The problem is when you don't get that.
Yeah.
Because it happens the other way too. So when you don't get that, you're like, oh, what do we do now?
So then you have to do a whole another day of casting
or, like maybe open up. Like when it's something very, very specific, it's tougher. Like I just cast, I won't name the brand, but they wanted a Midwest, like Minnesota type of Caucasian woman that was completely fluent in Spanish, but that wasn't Hispanic. They're like we don't want an Argentinian or Mexican. Like we want a white girl that can speak Spanish without an accent. So when it gets that specific, you have like 3 people that can.
And how do you find that?
So that's where the magic happens. I just happened to have gone to acting school with one of them. So I called her and she booked the job. But again, that's just...
Did she get the job?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, amazing.
Of course. Yeah, she did great.
Gosh, I should have been an actress, man.
It's one of those things where like, you never know. Like I'm giving you the good. There's also been
I'm sure. Yeah, I was gonna ask like what's like the craziest that you've seen, like when you've denied someone, like what does that look like?
I've had people like that's happened at the studio.
Like at the studio, and you're like, I'm sorry you didn't get this job. Like, are they like flipping cameras over? Like, what's that response? What's the craziest?
So you
thing?
never tell the people that they didn't get the job.
Okay.
You as the actor just don't hear back.
Oh man,
which is kind of devastating.
Sheesh.
Yeah. So you go in and you put in your hard work.
So you ghosted them.
You don't ghost them.
It's giving ghost.
It's one of those things where like that's how it works. So you don't. Wow. This is one of the things that I wish was a little different in the acting world.
Okay.
Because you could go in and you could be amazing and still not get it, and you never know why. So as an actor, people get doubt, self-doubt, and self-conscious, and I'm like, am I doing something wrong? Right. I've had many friends that know I work in casting. They're like, yeah, am I doing something wrong? Like, why am I not booking? And they're not doing anything wrong. That happened to me recently. This is a girl that works theatrically all the time. And she came to 3 of my commercial castings back to back to back. Got a call back for every single one of them and didn't book any. So after the 3rd one, she was like, what am I doing wrong? I was like, nothing. Like, there's nothing you're doing wrong. You're always making it to the last 2 or 3, and they're just going.
So how do you build someone's self-esteem back up? Like, I can imagine how that can be wear and tear on self-esteem.
Luckily for this specific person, she works theatrically a lot, so she knows that she'll work.
Right.
But if you're new, or if you don't book a lot,
for sure,
or it's been a long time, then you might start doubting yourself, and you're like, and that's why actors are like, am I doing this right? So.
And so the last portion, we're wrapping this up, but the last portion I would just love to just like motivate. Like I want to know like how can we motivate other, people that are interested in being a casting director? Like how did you 10 years, you've been in the game 10 years, like what has kept you like sane in those 10 years?
Sane.
I know, because it is what it is. Like it's not easy. I would say this industry in general is not easy, and to stay consistent is a blessing. So
totally. I feel like the job of the casting aspect of things is very, what's the right word? Like, I don't want to say overlooked, but it's like for example, at the Oscars, casting doesn't get an Oscar. Like, it's overlooked.
Okay.
And the casting process, like when the production company gets a project and they need to figure out who they want, they talk to casting and they're like, this is who they want. So without casting, they don't get who they want. So it's a pretty pivotal point that doesn't get the importance that it deserves, in my opinion. But it feels good to watch your work translate into TV. Right. So when I see the commercials that I worked on television, and I know that I played a small part, it's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
No, that's awesome. Congratulations on your 10 years. It's been amazing chatting with you.
Same.
Getting to know you. And just one thing that you said that I think that I would love just for the, viewers to, take into consideration is just, you just never know, what's going to happen. Like your beginning, you just happen to be at the right place at the right time and just not giving up. So, and that just ties us into Mesh. Like that's the purpose of Mesh. We want to bring people together. Yes, we know that there's a standard way in the industry, but there's also an unstandard way that we are creating, and there are no rules to Mesh talk or Mesh, not Mesh talk.
Do your work. Do your work.
Yeah.
Like, do your homework.
Yeah, yes.
Get educated.
Yep.
Go to school.
Yep.
Take some classes. Connect with people.
Right.
That's
Connect
mesh right there.
through mesh.
Connect with
Yeah.
people. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
For sure.
Like who you're gonna run into
Right.
10 years from now.
Right.
So
So don't forget this face, okay?
I won't.
I may be an actress. I don't know. You may have inspired me. But it was amazing, amazing getting to know you. And if you guys know any other creatives, as I said, we are all about creating and connecting people. You can submit your creative inspo to Mesh at Mesh CLC TV. It's a tongue twister, I want you to know. But I got it right, guys. And so you will be able to submit. And once again, as I said, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your experience with the world, because you never know who's watching and who you may have been able to change their perspective on casting.
Thank you for having me. We'll do it again.
Definitely.